Your eyes are getting heavy. You are very sleepy. The opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints presented in this program are in fact your own. You cannot imagine why you would think otherwise. Now listen. Enjoy.
Between science and ignorance, there is filler.
Hello everyone and good evening. Welcome to Paranormal Filler. I am your host, Wes Forsyth, and tonight's guest is, I have to say this, and I am not just being sycophantic, if that's even a real word. Dustin Pari, formerly of Ghost Hunters, then Ghost Hunters International, then nothing, and then Ghost Hunters again. Great guy. Just the kind of guy I wanted to start my year off with. So I'm really excited to be talking to him tonight. And let's see, I'll go through a few announcements while the theme song music is on. Next week's guest is David Roundtree. He'll be coming on to remind me that I am merely a monkey that knows the sign language for banana. Honest to God, smart guy David Roundtree will be on next week to talk about his book, his work with ghost stalkers, and I'm sure he'll find some reason to talk down to me at some point, because that's I've said it before. He looks at me, he picks just how smart I am, and then he just talks just a few inches above that. But I love talking to him. I gotta brag. I got invited today to attend as, well, I'm assuming it would be a headliner because they've invited me like 10 months in advance to a Paracon, but I'm not going to jinx it by announcing what the Paracon is, because they contacted me. We haven't worked out the details yet, and I'm afraid that they probably think that I would be willing to travel that far for a free table and beer. So, they will have to cough up gas money in a hotel room. I don't charge to do Paracons. I'm not that guy. But I definitely live on a fixed income. It needs to be fixed much better. No, I don't. But yeah, I would love, I'm hoping to get that worked out. Hopefully be able to announce that soon if we can get the details worked out. Is it wrong for me to not want to fly? First, I can drive there cheaper than they could fly me there. And I'm a control freak. I'm not afraid of flying. I like being in control. If I'm going to die in a fiery crash, I want it to be at my own hands. There, I said it. The LPTV link is not up in the live paranormal chat room tonight, but if you do want to watch the video version, if you go to ihuntghost.com, click on the Ustream link. I think there's a Ustream link. You will find it there. And let's see, what else do I have here? Of course, ihuntghost.com is my personal paranormal website. I'm going to try to update that. I got a really cool banner up there for tonight's show. That's about all I've done lately. I've got a dream log I'm getting ready to post. But I do want to give a shout out as we start the year off. I want to give a shout out to my network feeds. Of course, the signal originates at liveparanormal.com. It is simulcast over to the Diversity Broadcasting Network. And then if you want to catch the replay, I am on AMFM247.com and Art Bell's Dark Matter Network. Really pleased. Still looking for more outlets, though, because I am, as we always say here on Paranormal Filler, I am an attention whore. So, Dustin has already called in. Now, I've already got something to write him about, but but I'm going to go ahead and click the button here and welcome Dustin Pari to Paranormal Filler.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm so happy that you saved my cell phone number in your telephone, but that was the wrong number to call for the show. You do realize that now, don't you?
Yeah, I realize that now when I get sent to voicemail. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's what the blog talks about. I remember now.
Yeah.
You think I remember these things at this point in the game? I'm no rookie yet.
One thing I do want, of course, I've already sung your praises. Now, on the downside to Dustin Pari, he has absolutely zero pull with Chris Williams. I did find that out trying to get him to help me get an interview with her. So if anybody's wanting to leverage their acquaintance with Dustin Pari to get to Chris Williams, give it up, boys. I'm telling you. He's a dud on that one. But yeah. you are a hell of a guy, Dustin.
She'll return my phone calls. I mean, she calls me back. But just she's not hard enough to crack as any other people. I try to get her to do this, that. She's just she's a strong-minded individual.
Oh, there you go. Because see, if I'm an old-fashioned Kentucky boy, strong-minded woman, I got no use for that, boys. Make me some biscuits. No. I'm wondering how many people I can just piss off this year before I even get going good. Dustin, I got to meet Dustin in person. Of course, we tweeted back and forth forever, but I did get to meet him at Scarefest, and he was a wonderful, wonderful guy. And other than being an obvious T-shirt hoarder like Rob Demarest, can't say enough good things about you, Dustin.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, I asked you to come on the show. Well, actually, I originally touched base with you back in December before my own life went down the proverbial toilet. But it did. What I went through at Christmas time with the death in the family did bring me to want to speak to uplifting, motivational people as the year started. Not for myself. I'm moving on like I think is a healthy way to do it. But it did occur to me, I never really put as much stock in people. I always hear about people that get so down during the holidays. Either they don't have family close or they're not in a circle of friends. And I never, even if, because I work in retail, I'm not always excited about Christmas. New Year's to me has always been a fresh beginning, and I go into it highly motivated, although like most people, I think that motivation runs off by the end of the month. The sit-ups go by the wayside and this, that, and the other. Yeah. But, this year, Dustin, I did not make a single New Year's resolution. I could not bring myself to do it.
That's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it, man. Those things are overrated. I say continuous change throughout the year, throughout your life. This whole calendar year, I'm going to do this and that. And I'll tell you what, it's kind of interesting. New Year's Eve has never really meant much to me in one way or the other. But around my birthday, I seem to always get kind of reflective about, where I've been, what I've been doing, what I've accomplished, all the things I still, want to do still. For some reason, I think that's more of a personal thing. It's like my personal New Year, So around my birthday, I often start to think about all this stuff. And I'm one of those fellas, I don't get down about many things. But I do. I put a high demand on myself, and I want to do so much more all the time. And I got to take it easy once in a while. I realize I'm doing the best I can, and that I can't do everything always within the time constraints I place on myself. I got to go a little easier.
Okay, now I do have to pause this part of the conversation real quick because I have been accused by one idiot on YouTube of not having enough paranormal in my discussions. So very quickly, found any ghosts lately?
Yeah, let's talk. Oh, you know what? Here we go. Ghosts, orbs, don't cross the streams, EMF meter, flashlight technique is BS. Thermal cameras are still yet to be judged. I like ghosts. How about you?
Good enough. Okay, now we can move on to the motivational stuff.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to talk paranormal stuff? We'll talk paranormal stuff. Let's talk pirates. We can talk anything you want. I'm here for you, brother.
I'm over it. First of all, I want to start. Tell everybody, how you went from being television's favorite parahunk to being a motivational speaker.
Well, I don't know if we've ever quite attained that.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I guess you're second place on the parahunk thing, but go ahead.
That's all right. Number 2 just means I try harder, man. That's all.
I do. I will say you look darn good in a black
like,
T-shirt. But go ahead.
That's the problem. Is I like to kind of lighten things up all the time. I'm not always to the darkness, but I'm. It's weird, man. It's a lot of this started for me when I was on the International show, actually, because I already had a nice little group of people that would interact with me on different social media sites and all that. And I remember being away overseas, and I'd have a lot of downtime on my hands. It's weird when you're in a different country. Like, you want to go sightseeing, you want to go do a couple of things, but a lot of times we were in some isolated little towns, like, just hours away from any touristy type thing. So, and they always sent us in winter because it was cheaper. So there's a lot of times you just basically sit in your hotel room, and I spent a lot of time playing online and stuff, and writing to people and forming relationships with people. And people see you on TV, and they, for some reason, think you know what you're doing with all kinds of things. And people would write to me about real heartfelt issues in their life, their personal life, and everything. And I would do my best to try to write back to them. I figured if they were kind enough to take the time out of their day to write to me, and they entrusted me with some of these things, the least I could do is see if there's any advice I could offer to try to help them or point them in the right direction, and offer them some prayer or just a little bit of someone to talk to. And it just kind of took off from there. More and more people would come to me with this and that, and then Twitter came about. I love Twitter, man. It's nice because I can just kind of put out little ideas that pop in my head, and I really think things happen when they're meant to, and I'll just get an idea and I just send it out there, and it seems to resonate with people it needs to resonate with at that time. So I think that's a very important thing, and it's the motivational stuff is something that's just it's very personal to me, and it's something that I take great pride in, and it's financially not the most beneficial thing out of all the things that I do, but spiritually and personally, it's by far the most rewarding. So I really do enjoy it.
I can see for you. I can see you going towards the rewarding side of life. You just watching you on Twitter. I mean, the interaction that you have with your friends and fans is just above and beyond what is normally expected from a para-celeb. I watch several of them, and you come across, and I mean, I've seen you strike up conversations with people that I know you don't know from a hole in the ground, including myself originally. Now I do want to ask you now on your Dustin Pari .com website. Now that's your motivational website.
Right.
Go ahead and throw in the paranormal versus paranormalrockstar.com, which is your paranormal website. Now, on that site, your tagline is, motivation is not enough. Now, what do you mean by that tagline?
Oh, because I kind of feel like, when I've looked at motivational speakers, I've gone to, different HR seminars and stuff for different jobs and all that stuff, and it's just, a lot of it to me is just like hokey, canned kind of things, it's just this repetition of like this one line over and over that they want everybody to regurgitate. Somehow that new mantra is going to save your life. But I mean, you can motivate yourself to really do anything, but you need to be inspired to move past that. Like you can be motivated to go to work because you need to pay your mortgage or your rent. Because you need a place to live. So there's basic motivation there. You gotta get off the couch at least to get the little thing of cheese balls out of the aisle of Walmart and go back to your house. But when you live an inspired life, you really move past just mere motivation, and you find inspiration in all that you do, even the little things, the little chores. And it's funny because trust me, I've got 4 stinky cats that my wife and my daughter seem to like, so that's why I have them. However, they don't do anything for their upkeep. They don't feed them. They don't give them water. They don't clean them. So that task falls to me, and I take the least amount of joy out of actually having these animals, but they like them, so I take care of them, and that's what it is. But, there's always that unpleasant task of cleaning up the litter box and everything, taking it out to the trash and all that stuff. But when I'm doing that, I go outside and I walk into the stars and I look up and I think about bigger things. I think about other things that are more meaningful to me, And so throughout these daily mundane tasks that we have to do, there's chances for us to still really be alive in life and be aware of what's going on around us, and find more than just motivation, but just be inspired as beings. Every day that we get is just another great opportunity to do wonderful things with, to help other people, help them do things they couldn't do themselves, and speak kind to strangers and things like that. They sound like little things, but those little things really add up, and there's so much happiness to be found in them. I think that a lot of times we get kind of blindsided, and we want such grandiose things for ourselves or for our family or whatever, that we have these blinders on, and we don't see all the little beautiful things that happen in day-to-day life. One of the things I talk about a lot is that there's a lot of waitresses out there that are waiting to be actresses, and especially on the LA area and stuff. Everybody's got their script. Everybody wants to try out for this part or that part. But while you're there waiting tables, be the best damn waitress you can be. Enjoy every day of what you're doing now, because at some point, that part of your life is going to be past. It's going to be a distant memory. In the meantime, you're here. You shouldn't write off any time that you have. Just looking forward to the future,
Now, I do need to point out to you, both from personal experience and talking to more than a few pet psychics, pay closer attention to those cats. They do have your best interest at heart.
I'll try to keep that in mind.
They dogs protect our physical well-being. Cats are there for our spiritual well-being. And the only reason you haven't connected to your cats is because you're such an upbeat guy, you probably don't need them. But I can tell you, I have a two-way thing with cats. When I feel emotionally drained, the cats all of a sudden flock to me. And on the inverse side, for cats, you're a freaking amateur, dude. Our house, my wife has this.
That's a problem.
My wife is a cat magnet. We have a stray cat show up at the house, and what makes it even worse than the stray cats is when people dump kittens. It seems like these things will travel miles to get to my house, and so we. And we've had some that come in here just really, really sickly shape, and those little kittens are always drawn to me, and it's so that I guess you could say I could repay the favor, that I can help heal them with whatever spirituality I have, and so my relationship with cats has grown, and so there's my advice to you: embrace the cats.
Well, here's the deal, bro. You take care of the stray animals, and I'll take care of the stray people, and together we'll help all the little misfits of the world.
That'll work, because when it gets right down to it, see, that's why I can't do motivational speaking, because I don't like people that much when it gets right down to it. I like a person. Any particular person, I like a person. So everybody don't automatically quit following me on Twitter. It's not that. I just find that when there's a group of people, that's when things just go awry, as they say. Yeah,
well, I mean, it all depends on the lowest common denominator, and sometimes, it's there's some dark people out there that need a lot of light shown their way, and a lot of times they rebuff it, the first couple of times. But you just plant those little seeds of kindness, and they grow and they come around when the time comes.
Now, you kind of touched on this. Now, I've been to some so-called motivational lectures. Back in the old days when, yes, people, I was a salesman, and I wasn't door-to-door, but I was like the next best thing. So I'd go to the sales lectures, and they'd, motivate. And they had bullet points, and matter of fact, I went to one that, honestly, the guy admitted that he was there to draw his check, and he didn't give a damn whether we listened or not.
My God.
But the companies were all paying for it, so he got his money. But beyond I don't believe you don't do a bullet point type lecture. How do you interact with the people that show up?
Well, it depends what's going on, man. I have one PowerPoint style thing, but it's about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So it's not your average PowerPoint by far. And it's mostly just with a quote in the picture. All the points and stuff are just in my head. And I just kind of go along with the way the conversation goes. I have other ones I do. I like to call them choose your own adventure, like pick a path, like the old books you used to get when you were in grade school, where you skip ahead to page 23 if you want to, go into the cave, or 25 if you want to go around the side. So what I do is I'll hand out all these pamphlets to people, and just these little videos and all these pictures, and just tell them, pick a page, tell me what page you want me to talk about. And there's 4 seemingly unrelated photos, And then I tell them what the theme is and how that relates to our life and how we need to keep focused and motivated and inspired. And that works on a nice scale on two different sides, because one, it's fun because it's interactive for the crowd, so they're not just sitting there listening. And then two, it's fun for me because it's never the same lecture twice. People are always picking different pages, so I never know which one we're going to start with and which one we're going to end with. So the whole thing kind of changes, because one will harken back upon another and such, so that's kind of fun. And recently, I did one down in New Jersey just before the Christmas holiday, and I did a not-so-dramatic reading of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I wore a cute little Santa hat, and I read the book, and I paused at different points to talk about different little lessons that we can get from these things. I really feel a lot of great building blocks for our life were given to us at our youngest stages, and I think a lot of times, due to whatever reasons, a lot of us don't have the firmest foundation to fall back on, and I think that's where a lot of problems come from. So I like to try to, repair some of those things. Let's get a good solid base, and then we'll go forward from there.
Tell me you didn't wear the Santa hat sideways and upside down.
No, sir. I had moved out of the ghetto when I was about 18, so I wear it normal now.
Now I forgot where I was. Okay. I do want to point out to everybody, this is one thing that meant a lot to me, and this is why Dustin Pari is so high up in my book. Now, I got a lot of wishes from people via Facebook and Twitter when I had my own personal tragedy last month. But of the, I know you don't embrace the term para-celebrity. That's why I like using it so much with you. But of the para-celebrities that I'm on terms with, Dustin was the only one that sent me a personal private message about, telling me he's sorry and the grieving process. And then the dude calls me this week to talk over the show as if I've ever prepared for anything in my life. So that was that was a really neat thing. But now, one thing we did talk about that you brought up that I want to hear about, one thing you do at your lectures is you have people write down questions anonymously. What are some? What are some of the types of questions that people, when they know that nobody's going to know who asked it, what do they ask you?
It's funny. Some of them will write personal things about relationship problems with their significant others. Some will write about, this woman at work is trying to destroy me. That's always the best. Some people just write about they can't stand every day for them. They get worn down, and it sounds like a silly thing, but they get worn down by their neighbor's dog constantly barking. How am I supposed to deal with this? And a lot of times people you might read it and think they're writing it in jest, but these are things that kind of wear people down, day in and day out. And sometimes we lack the simple social skills to know how to address the situation, how to go about starting a conversation with someone about your neighbor's dog that drives you crazy, or confronting the person at work that seems to just be out to get you every day, each and every day. Some of them get, kind of comical, but some get kind of very serious. Then, every once in a while there's somebody who's getting flirtatious, so that's always fun too. So you never know what you're going to get.
Now, what type of people come to your lecture? I mean, I guess maybe I should ask it this way. Do most people come to your lecture actually expecting you to be motivational, or do you just have a lot of people that see, oh, Dustin Pari's at the library, I want to go see the guy that was on Ghost Hunters? What is your typical crowd?
What's been really nice is because I started doing the motivational lectures 3 years ago now, and they started to be very paranormal heavy. Which is fine because, that's what I'm most known for, and that's where a lot of my friendships developed from. A lot of people who have helped support me, and I've helped support them have come to that. So I'm very thankful for that. And but it was nice, because I would ask, how many of you here have not seen me or on Ghost Hunters or just have no idea that I've been on any of these things? And there would always be a couple of people. And so I would kind of use them as my litmus test. I would go talk to them after to see what they thought of the presentation. And I did one last year in Virginia And there was this woman there, and I went up to. I did my Rudolph one. My buddy Clay Smith had put it on. You know Clay there.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over there to speak with this woman, and I said, what did you think of everything? And she was so funny because she was very honest, and she looked at me. She said, when you started, I didn't know what the hell you were doing or where you were going to go with it. But when you're all done, it all made sense, and I loved it. And I thought that was great because anybody that gets to know me knows that my stories sometimes get a little circuitous and stuff, and there's a lot of a little happy nonsense that invades my thought process. But at the end of the day, it all does come back to some common core that seems to make sense. I just kind of, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I flip open the box and there's pieces everywhere, and we start all over the place. We don't try to build the border first. We don't start in the middle. We just see where things go, and eventually it all comes back together. And now when I go and do these lectures, majority of the people are people that have heard about my motivational thing and have not known me from the paranormal. So it's been a nice kind of coming around, and I'm hoping that'll continue to grow. I mean, this whole thing with being back on the Ghost Hunters show for the new episodes that'll be coming out, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The extra paycheck helped to pave the driveway and paint the homestead, so I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed what I was doing. I have such a great respect for the spirit field. I work in spirituality, and doing investigations means a lot to me because I think it's one of the things that keeps me so grounded is knowing that there's so much more beyond this life and this existence, So being able to be in touch with that, I mean, I've always investigated locally, but to be back on the platform and doing it out there with everybody, it's just kind of cool. And what I'm really hoping that comes out of all of it is that, hopefully the Twitter numbers will go up a little bit, and more people see what I'm about, and more people will hear my messages, and more people will come to me for advice, and hopefully I can continue to help more people.
I don't see how it couldn't. Just knowing you and what, because I enjoy. Of course, I'm finally now. Anybody that was followed me this weekend on Twitter saw that I was finally home, and I took the entire weekend just pretty much off. I did crap, just to try to unwind, get myself back together. Now, when someone is in a funk, for lack of a better word, when someone is, we won't go into deep, dark depression, but from time to time, people do get into just, it seems like the world is against them. Are there any steps, and when I say steps, I'll say baby steps, that you try to share with people to help them move beyond that and to see the bright side of life? Because I do, personally, I think the main thing about being motivated is to have something to look forward to have something in the future that I can wrap my head around.
Yeah, and I always like to, when I'm approaching with people that go through something very difficult, I always think it's very beneficial to take a multi-tiered attack about getting on track again. And one of the biggest things is having a goal or a dream, something that you want to attain, and a reasonable goal. It's something that that if you really do work hard at, you have a good chance of getting to, but something that's not going to be easy either, because it's going to be meaningful. It's going to be worth your while. And a lot of people say, well, if it was just that easy. And I hate that answer. I'm like, no, if it's easy, then it's not worth doing. Why does everything always have to be easy? I'll put out and give somebody some advice, like, oh, you just think it's easy. Like, no, I know it's not easy. But if you really want to work at something, and you really want something, then you'll go through what you need to go through to get there, But I think that having a goal is one of the most important things. Physical exercise is so important. You don't have to be a supermodel. You don't have to be, all jacked up and be ready to be in a muscle magazine somewhere. But the amount of energy that you get, it sounds like, counterintuitive. Like, if I'm going to go work out or whatever, or if I want to go running or walking, I'm going to be tired. And you are the first couple of times. But then after a while, your your physical makeup changes. And you have this dopamine release, and it starts to make you feel better. Your energy levels start to increase, and that overall, I think, one of the most important things I really do feel is physical exercise on some level or another. And I think that, coupled with having the goal, taking good care of yourself, and never forgetting who you are. There's things about yourself that you've been through. You know what your scars are. You know what damage has been done to you and by who. And you just got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is who I am. These are the mistakes I made. They're not going to define who I am. I'm going to move forward from this point on, and I'm going to be a better person because of these things. These are the people that hurt me. I'm not going to go forward carrying this grudge forever. You know, I know some people enter some horrible things because some people do some horrible, horrible things in this world. But it doesn't mean you need to go throw a parade for them. But it means that you can't continually keep them in your mind, still tormenting you and holding you down either. You got to forgive people sometimes just for your own sake, more than for theirs, just so you can move forward with your own life. And I think that's always very important. And this is one of the things I always harken back to. A lot of my lectures talk about is what made you happy when you were a child. Sometimes those little things really are the keys to a meaningful life, you know. And one of the things I love doing as a kid is to just lay down, just stare at the clouds, and just make pictures out of the clouds. I consider myself a modern-day cloud artist nowadays. I have a lot of time in traffic, and trust me, people get to me because people don't know what the hell they're doing driving. I'm obviously the expert, but as I'm sitting there in the traffic every day, I take a lot of time to just stare up at the clouds, and because the car's not moving, so I might as well look around. And I just relax myself, you know. And we all have these little things from when we were kids that made us happy. And I think that remembering those things brings a lot of joy, and that little ray of light and hope can bring it through a lot of darkness.
Everything you just said is the antithesis of my life. No, from the end going the other direction. When I drive, I'm one of those dudes. Now, I'm a hell of a safe driver. You would love me on the road because I am no trouble to anybody else. But I concentrate so hard on, I do look inward a lot, but I zone out on everything but the highway. And I swear, if a UFO, you know, these people that get videos of UFOs, they've been driving, oh, look at the light in the sky, and they whip out their cell phone camera. Never going to happen with me. It's never going to happen with me, Dustin. The son of a bitch could land, and unless it lands in the highway and blocks traffic, I'll never know the difference. But I think one of the things
that you're attentive.
One of the things that was hardest on me, of course, working in the retail sector in my day job, one of my day jobs, Christmas is a busy time. It's my only really busy time of year. The rest of the year, I'm a farm guy. But through the Christmas season, I'm tied up with that. So that exhausts me because the great unwashed masses, the customer is not always right. Listen to that, people. I don't care who you are. You're not always right. That being said, so I went into the season tired, and then right on the holidays, of course, my father passed away. And to complicate matters in my own personal hell, I guess I would call it a form of seasonal dysfunction, whatever they call it, where you get depressed when there's no sunlight. Yeah,
seasonal depression disorder, yeah.
And I always, partially I blame it on the lack of sunlight. But I think also it goes back to
brother.
It goes back to what you said with me also. In the summertime, I'm very active. I'm outdoors all the time. I have, I'll put it this way, there are parts of my body that are just absolutely, you think your truck has a lot of mileage on it, you should see my shoulders. But in the wintertime, because I can't get out and do all that, I'm not active, and I've got a weight bench in the next room, and it's a great place to hang clothes. That's all I'm going to say about it. I can't get motivated to exercise. I exercise passively through what I do on the farm. But when it gets right down to it, that is a big stumbling block for me, is getting my blood circulating this time of year. And so what would you say to that kind of guy?
No, I'll tell you what, man. When you hit it right on the head on the topic, you just see they sell like the sun lamps and stuff for people who suffered in the dark.
Have you ever tried one of those?
There is something to that.
Have you ever tried one of those?
No, I don't try that stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll tell you what though. I do take a lot of vitamin D supplements, and especially this time of year, because the large amount of vitamin D that we actually get, we absorb from the sun. So this time of year, we can't get nearly enough. So taking extra vitamin D, it does affect your mood quite a bit. And so taking the supplements during this time of year is very, very important. I'll never forget when I was over in Sweden, and we were doing the international show there. We were, I forget how many miles just south of the Arctic Circle, and it was very, very dark. And like every day, it was like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. It was dark out, and they had told us, and I never researched this myself, but they told us that they had that area had the highest suicide rate, at least for their country, if not globally. And because it's just almost like perpetual darkness. It's just always dark. It's always gloomy, and it's tough to fight through that. Physical darkness is very daunting, just as much as it causes the emotional darkness to seep in.
Now, I actually did try the vitamin D at one time, and I probably should still be doing it. Finally used it all and just didn't buy any. But it was funny. I was taking what was recommended on the label, and I went into the person. I was talking to the person that recommended that I try it, and told them how much I was taking. And they basically just called me a big girl and told me to pull my panties up and double up, triple up. I'm like, wait, isn't this stuff toxic at some level? But I want to tell you that sun lamp deal. I got one of those. Carolyn Doherty recommended it. And the directions say to put it in front of your face for up to 20 minutes a day, and then go about your business, computer, whatever. Dustin, you cannot type with a blinding fluorescent light in your face.
I can't imagine. That sounds horrible.
So my experiment with that was short-lived, just because I could not get anything else done. That was 20 minutes out of my day that I just could not spare, whether it worked or not. But now, I've noticed one thing. I think I've kind of noticed you doing on Twitter, and I don't know if it's people that you follow and you kind of watch what they say, because I think some people probably just follow you because they hear you're an upbeat guy and look to you for motivation. But I've noticed a few times people have said something about being down or talking about the weight of life, and you jump in on Twitter and try to actually give them whatever help you can in 150 characters. And is that something you actively do, or is that just accidental?
No, it's something that I always kind of keep an eye out for. And sometimes they're not people that even follow me. They're just somebody that I follow retweets or whatever, or just something I stumble across. And I'll tell you what, that's slippery slope there sometimes. You get a 50-50 shot that somebody's going to be receptive to it. And then others, for whatever reason, whatever they're going through, embrace that darkness so much that they get mad that you're trying to help them. And I get told, stop trying to play psychiatrist. I don't need your help. And I'm like, I'm just trying to help. But I didn't think it was a bad thing. But I always remember this. This is something that was one of those things, man. I was driving. I do a lot of the paranormal lectures around that last week of October, and I usually like to just get a rental car, and I just drive from state to state. And my dad was an over-the-road trucker, and it's way less than I understand from when I was a kid. So it's fun for me, I get in the little rental car, and it's kind of like a little romantic adventure for myself, and I have a good time. And I remember many years ago doing this, and I was driving through Indiana, and it's funny because you mentioned before about not ever seeing a UFO while you're driving. That's the only time I've ever seen a UFO. But just before that, I'm driving on this road in Indiana, and on the radio they were talking about the rescue of the Chilean miners that were trapped, below ground for however many days. And they were saying about how when they came up, they needed to give them sunglasses and everything because everything was so bright that it was harmful to, it was very off-putting to them and painful for them to look at. And I always remember that, when somebody's in a really dark place and you try to offer them help, sometimes that light is off-putting to them. It pushes them back because they've just known darkness for so long that they can't relate, and they're pushed back by it. So I always just, I never force anything on people. I'll say my piece, and if they get angry or whatever, I don't retaliate. Just they're going through something, and I think that what happens is, as I kind of alluded to earlier, you just kind of give them a little nudge and kind of just plant that little seed of kindness and try to give them a little hope. And I think that when the time is appropriate for them, they see that, and they may not remember who it came from or why they heard it, but it comes into to be useful for them and helps to turn things around for them when they're ready.
I can tell you that depression, and not just clinical depression, there's various forms of depression, that it becomes almost a drug for people. We see people on the internet all the time, especially in the paranormal field. They live for the drama. They're not happy unless they're arguing with people. And actually, depression can manifest a very similar way. You have to, people that are depressed, and this is where it gets tricky, unless they realize what's happening to them, they have to hit their own bottom. And I think sometimes they choose that bottom, how low they're willing to go. But it's like a drug, and in other words, they might vent about it, like you mentioned, but they don't want that help yet.
Yeah.
And I know that from some life experiences that and the real problem with that. Of course, you won't run into it. You may not find out about it on Twitter, but I know when you're dealing with someone on a personal level, is if you're. I've known a few people that have committed suicide, and no one caught them on that downward spiral. I'm not saying they missed a cue. Robin Williams was a good example. And I didn't know Robin Williams. I'm not trying to tell people that. But the story that of his death sounded like that. It's like the people in his life had seen him go this direction before, and they didn't think he was ready for that catch, that net at the bottom, and he slipped through the cracks. And I think that happens a lot. But I do want to commend you for trying to intercede, because every now and then that's what people that vent like that on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to step in and say what they need to hear.
Yeah, no, it's true, because something else I see a lot of is, unfortunately, our society, especially with a lot of the social media stuff, and because I think for a lot of these people that might be the only way they actually interact with others is through the internet and through these things. And a lot of times you don't see people actually even trying to help someone that's going through something difficult as much as they're just trying to one-up them on how miserable their life actually is. It just, I don't understand that. It just seems like it's a weird game of who's got it worse, and comparatively. That's, I don't know, it's all very troubling. That's why, for years now, at the end of every night, the last thing I always put up on Twitter that posts to Facebook and everything else for me, I always put up the suicide hotline every night. I just copy, paste it, and retweet it every night. I've been doing it for years now, because I know there's someone out there somewhere at some point in time that's going to need that, or maybe has already needed that, and that's hopefully give them at least some hope or give them somebody to talk to,
Now I'm going to shift the conversation to a lighter note, since we're talking about social media. What the hell's this stuff about a cocoa-making goat?
It's a brilliant idea. It's not. Everyone should have a goat, I think. I think it's a wonderful animal. I don't have one. I've got these 4 cats. If anybody wants to trade me a goat for 4 cats, I could try to run it by my daughter because she's kind of the boss. But I would personally love a goat. They help with like yard maintenance and things like that. Garbage disposal, that's also good. You could make milk with the goat. But if you could train one to get you hot cocoa, I personally think that would be a great use of a goat. It dawned on me today, and I thought, damn it, I want a goat to get me cocoa.
Huh. Now, as a farmer, I can tell you, first of all, how high is the fence around your yard?
I have a I don't know, is it a 6 foot, 8 foot, 8 foot?
Okay, 8 foot, you'll be safe. But I can tell you
Is that good for goats?
that would be good for goats, but they can jump 4 foot flat footed. They,
Well, I'll tell.
I have a tragic.
What got me interested?
I have a tragic goat story for you. Here's my tragic.
I love that this is where the conversation is gone. Yeah, you tell me your goat story, and I'll tell you mine.
Okay, my tragic goat story. We had gosh, they're miniature goats. I forget what they actually call them. They're not called miniature. Pygmy goats. That's what they're called. We had one, and just cutest little thing, but it was a real pain in the ass. FYI, but it was cute as all get out. But we had it actually in the barn. And we were doing something in the barn and tied it like you would a dog, and it was in a stall with a 4 foot door. Said, well, that'll keep him from burrowing under the door. He jumped the door when we weren't looking and hung himself. And now PETA can come after me because it was horrible, and it broke our hearts, broke my wife's heart, broke everybody's heart involved. But it was something. It never occurred to us that little.
That the goat could jump. Yeah,
that a goat, especially one that size, he was like a 1.5 foot tall. So when you're talking milk goat like you're wanting, them's big sons of bitches. So I'm just saying, before you jump in with both feet, consider all the possibilities.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. What happened to me was I was back in high school, senior year. I would... I'm not trying to give advice here, kids. I'm not trying to tell you not to go to school and things like that. But I was a pretty good student. I was, like straight A student, but I was in a lot of honors classes and I was doing fine. And I was of the mindset of, listen, they give you 3 or 5 days per quarter to be out. So if things are going well, you might as well utilize these days and do things you want to do because life is going by pretty quickly, and college is coming up next year, and friends are going to be moving away, and you get a day off together. You should do something with it. So some days we'd go to the park and go to the swings and things and just hang out. And I used to like to go to the zoo, and they used to have at the Roger Williams Zoo in Rhode Island. They used to have this goat. He had like a reddish brown tinge to him. Beautiful little fella, and great big like yellow brown eyes. And I called him Diablo. And I would speak to him in my limited Spanish that I acquired from high school. And Diablo would run over when he'd see me because we worked on some type of kinship. And I would put my hand out there, and he would press his little goat head against it, and then he would stand up, and his soul was smiling at me. We had this great connection. And so I would see him many times throughout my senior year in high school there, making use of these days off. And then the last time I saw the fellow, he was standing on a rock, and he was urinating, a wonderful rainbow stream out by the side of him, but he was licking it as it was going by. He was drinking his own urine, and I think that Diablo took ill after that because I never saw him again. But I always wondered whatever happened to him, and then I kind of forgot all about my little goat fascination until this past year, 2014. I was in Staples, and they had the calendars out for the new year, so I was looking for one for my office, and they had 18 months. I don't know why they make a 1.5 year calendar. It seems kind of like ridiculous. Like, because then what are you going to do like next June? So get a calendar. They don't have a calendar that starts in June and July, as far as I know. Anyway, you get a damn 18-month calendar. Goats in trees, and it was just these wonderful pictures of trees with multiple goats standing in them. They're not Photoshop. These are real goats in trees. That's some fascinating stuff.
My guess is on the calendars, it's much like magazines. They try to give you in other words, when they publish the May issue of Sports Illustrated or whatever, it actually comes out in like March or April. It's to give it more shelf life. So an 18-month calendar, paper's cheap. So they want.
But then you're being sure. I mean, at least make it 24 months then. Because in a 1.5 years, you're not going to get a July through December calendar.
But see,
that's just bad planning.
If you go too long, you might lose. The person that buys the calendar might get sick of goats in trees. And I'm sure someone.
I don't know if that's possible.
Some marketing person. I'm guaranteed. Some marketing person.
You and I disagree.
Some marketing person somewhere has done a study and has found the shelf life of goats in trees to be 18 months.
What the hell is wrong with us?
It's a new year, and I'm just full of it this year. I have decided that I'm going
Happy New Year, David. Everyone take some vitamin D, get yourself a goat, put it in a tree. Everything's beautiful. Nothing but sunshine, rainbows, and goats.
I have decided that I am putting whatever auspices of being a serious human being that I had behind me, and I'm just going, and I'm going to enjoy the year. That's just all there is to it.
That's the way to do it.
Now let's get down to business. Got a few minutes left in the show.
Business, here we go.
What do you got to plug, Dustin? There's got to be something you're ready to plug.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I've got a lot coming up, thankfully. I've got, I think I already have like 9 or 10 events on the year. I'm doing a local library lecture tomorrow night down in Tiverton, Rhode Island. Speaking down there for the good people of Tiverton. We're doing a little paranormal lecture tomorrow night at 6:30. That's actually just open to the public to come and check that out. And then in April, I've got I've got all kinds of things going on. I got my man over at Deal Events Management. He's got me all over the place. I know I'm doing Salem Con up in Salem, Mass, and that's going to be fantastic. I love Salem. I mean, I know it's got the whole witch history and things, but what a beautiful town. It's one of my favorite places to go visit. It's just, it's not far from Rhode Island, so that's good, but it's got great little cobblestone streets, and they got a place called Salem Beer Works, and you can get a nice pint of blueberry ale, and they put fresh blueberries in there, and the damn little fruits, they go up and down on the carbonation bubbles, the little berries and everything. It's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite things. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be going to Live Paranormal's event this year up in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be returning to Michigan's Parafest up in the UP up there. That's going to be awesome. I'm doing a bunch of things for Ideal. Like I said, I'm going to be at Ohio State Prison up there at the Reformatory. I'm going to be at Waverly this year. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. I need to update my website personally, but pretty much majority of my events are over at idealeventmanage.com. So give me a chance to check that out.
Are you doing the Pennhurst event in April?
Yeah, man. Yeah, Pennhurst. Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to be there again. I love that place. I did that last year, too.
The reason I asked, I saw that on your website, then I went to Ideal to get the details on it, and they don't have you on the show bill. And I said,
yeah, I know. You know what it is? He likes to kind of hold me out. Like, I'm like the special little show pony that he brings out at the end, like, oh, and look who else you get to meet. I think that's his plan. I don't know. I really don't think that highly of myself. But I like to think that maybe that's why he does it, not just out of sheer laziness, but or disdain, but maybe I'm like a special treat, you know?
That has to be it, because I just saw who was on the show bill, and I said, well, he's as good as those dudes. That you think he could at least get fine print, also appearing down at the bottom, also appearing. But anyway, everybody, you can find Dustin Pari. Go to DustinPari.com for more information about his motivational series. Go to ParanormalRockstar.com, which is just a little bit over the top, Dustin. ParanormalRockstar.com.
Not nearly over enough. You said I'm number 2, damn it.
Well, I'm telling you. Have you thought about self-tanner? I'm not going to name names, but have you thought about?
I'm sorry?
Have you thought about using self-tanner?
No, that's okay. All you see here, my friend, is all natural. This is what I got. Is what I got. Okay. Nothing fake here going on.
Okay, now let's see. Who else have I pissed off tonight? Anyway, thanks again, Dustin, for coming on. Looking forward to seeing you this year. I'm sure we will butt heads somewhere, and I'm going to make you drink a real drink instead of that little blueberry and apple shit that you normally imbibe.
I like hard ciders. There's nothing unmanly about it, damn it.
So, once again...
Well, thanks a lot, man. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and I appreciate it.
Happy New Year, Dustin.
Yeah, you too, brother. Keep it positive. I'll catch you later.
And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Paranormal Filler. This has been Wes Forsyth. Join me next week, guest David Roundtree.